I had spent the whole evening trying to distract myself, but nothing worked. My mind was heavy, my chest tight, and the silence of my room felt louder than usual. It was almost midnight when my phone lit up. I didn't expect a message at that hour, especially not from him that I yawned am, my father's closest friend. The man who had known me since childhood, who always spoke to me as if I mattered more than I believed. His message was short: "If you're awake, come over. I want to talk privately." For a moment, I just stared at the screen. It felt strange. Why at night? Why me? But something inside me needed it. I needed someone who would listen without judging, someone who understood what I couldn't explain to anyone else. The streets were silent as I walked toward his house. Ayan lived just a few blocks away, and his porch light was the only thing glowing on the entire street. When he opened the door, he smiled softly, almost as if he had been waiting right behind it. There was warmth in the air, the kind that made my shoulders relax immediately. "Come," he said gently. "You look tired." I stepped inside. The house was dim, lit only by a small lamp in the hallway. He guided me to a separate room, one I usually never entered when visiting with my father. It was quieter, more personal, filled with a calm scent of oud. He closed the door behind us, not in a secretive way, but in a protective one. "What's going on with you?" he asked as he sat across from me. His tone wasn't demanding. It was soft, concerned. "Your father said you've been quiet lately." I hesitated. I didn't know how to explain the storm inside me. Confusion, loneliness, the feeling of being unseen even while standing in the middle of my own home. But Ayan watched me with patience, the kind that made words easier to spill. "I don't know," I finally whispered. "I just feel lost." He moved closer, sitting beside me on the edge of the bed. His voice lowered. "You don't have to carry everything alone. Sometimes we just need someone who understands." The room felt smaller with him so close, but not in a suffocating way. More like I finally had space to breathe. He noticed my trembling hands and gently rested his hand on mine. A simple touch, but it sent a quiet warmth through me. Comfort, not intention. "You're stronger than you think," he said. "But even strong people need rest." Before I could respond, he stood and pulled the blanket back slightly. "Lie down for a moment," he said. "You're exhausted." I should have refused. I knew how it might look, how it might be misunderstood. But the weight in my chest was too much, and the softness in his voice felt like a place to hide from everything. So I lay down, staring at the ceiling as he adjusted the pillow behind my head. He didn't leave the room. He sat near me, quietly, as if guarding my restless heart. For the first time in days, my breathing slowed. My eyes grew heavy, and I let myself drift just a little. The last thing I saw was Ayan watching me with an expression I couldn't understand, something between concern and something deeper, something unspoken. And then everything faded into quiet. When I opened my eyes, the first thing I saw was the soft glow of morning filtering through the curtains. For a second, I couldn't remember where I was. Then the faint scent of Ayan's oud and the quiet stillness of the room reminded me. I pushed myself up, startled. Had I really fallen asleep here? The door opened gently, and Ayan stepped in holding 2 cups of tea. He smiled lightly when he saw I was awake. "Good. I didn't want to wake you. You looked like you needed the rest." I felt embarrassed. I didn't mean to fall asleep. "It's all right," he said, handing me a cup. "You were exhausted. Anyone could see it." I looked at him over the steam rising between us. He sat close, close enough that I could feel the warmth of his presence. Something in the quiet morning made the room feel softer, more vulnerable. "Did you stay here the whole time?" I asked. He didn't answer immediately. He took a sip of tea and then nodded. "I didn't want you to wake up alone." A strange heaviness settled in my chest. Something like comfort, something like confusion. It felt good to be cared for, but I couldn't ignore the boundary we were crossing, even without touching it. "You don't treat everyone like this," I said quietly. "No," he replied, meeting my eyes. "Not everyone." For a long moment, we didn't speak. There was only the hum of the morning and the space between us getting smaller without either of us moving. It wasn't physical closeness, it was emotional closeness, the kind that made breathing feel different. "Ayan, this feels wrong," I whispered. "You're my father's friend. I shouldn't even be here." He looked down at his hands, his voice lowering. And yet, here you are. I didn't know what to say. I felt seen in a way I hadn't felt in years, held without being touched. And that scared me, because people didn't offer that without wanting something in return, or without losing something in the process. You make me feel like I matter, I said, the words slipping out before I could stop them. He didn't react with surprise. He only shifted closer, his knee brushing mine in a quiet, accidental touch that felt anything but accidental. Maybe that's because you do matter. More than you realize. My throat tightened. I didn't know if he meant those words the way I hoped, or the way I feared. Ayan, do you care for me? I asked. He inhaled slowly, like he had been avoiding that question in his own mind. More than I should, he confessed. The room felt heavier after that. Not dangerous, just full. Full of emotion, possibilities, consequences. Full of everything we weren't saying. Tell me if I'm reading this wrong, I said, my voice barely a breath. Because I feel something, but I don't understand it. He reached out, hesitated, then brushed a strand of hair from my forehead. It was the gentlest touch I'd ever felt. You're not reading it wrong, he said softly. But that doesn't make it simple. Guilt rolled through me. You shouldn't feel this way. I know who I am, he said. I know what this is. But sometimes life places two people in each other's path for reasons we don't control. He looked away. I'm trying not to cross lines I can't undo. I swallowed hard. Everything inside me felt conflicted, drawn toward him, desperate for someone to understand me, but terrified of what this connection might lead to. I should go, I said finally, before something happens. He didn't stop me, but when I stood up and headed toward the door, he spoke in a low voice that froze me in place. This isn't over, he said. Not for me, and I don't think for you either. I didn't turn around. If I did, I wasn't sure I'd have the strength to leave. I walked out of the house, the cool morning air rushing over my skin. But no matter how far I walked, I could still feel his gaze on me, still hear the quiet confession in his voice, and I knew he was right. This wasn't over. The next few days passed in a blur. I tried to pretend that nothing had changed, that I could simply return to the life I had before that night. But every quiet moment reminded me of him, his voice, his concern, the way he looked at me as if I was someone worth understanding. That I avoided walking past his street. I avoided opening my messages for fear I would find one from him, or fear that I wouldn't. But on the third night, just as I was convincing myself that distance was the right choice, my phone vibrated. We need to talk. Please come. I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me wanted to ignore it. The other part, the louder part, needed answers. Needed closure. Needed him. By the time I reached his house, the night was quiet, heavy, expectant. The door opened before I could knock. He must have been watching for me. His face held a mixture of relief and worry, as if he feared I wouldn't come. Inside, the house felt different than before. Tensed, quieter, almost as if it knew what we were about to say. Ayan gestured for me to sit, but I remained standing. He stood too, only a few steps away. You disappeared, he said softly. I thought, maybe you regretted everything. I didn't regret it, I replied, but I was confused. I didn't know what you wanted. Ayan exhaled, rubbing the back of his neck. I didn't know what I wanted either. I'm still figuring it out. His eyes found mine and held them. But I know one thing. I haven't stopped thinking about you. Not for a single minute. My heart tightened. Hearing him admit it made everything feel more real, more dangerous. You're not free, I said. And I don't want to be a secret someone hides when the lights are off. He stepped closer, slowly, as if approaching something fragile. I never wanted to hurt you, he said, or anyone, but I can't deny what I feel. You brought something into my life I didn't even know I was missing. I swallowed hard. His honesty cut deep. And what about me? I whispered. What am I supposed to do with feelings that shouldn't exist? He reached out, gently taking my face in his hands, his forehead resting against mine. It wasn't a kiss. It was something more, an emotional confession without words. Tell me to stop, he murmured. Tell me to forget you, and I will try. But I couldn't say it. The silence between us said everything. After a long moment, I finally spoke. Ayan, I care about you too much. And that's exactly why I can't stay in your life like this. His hands slowly lowered, but his eyes stayed on mine, soft and hurting. So this is goodbye. It's a choice, I said. The right one. For both of us. He closed his eyes for a moment, as if absorbing the pain quietly. When he opened them again, there was no anger, only acceptance and something like grief. You're stronger than me, he said. I wish I had your courage. I shook my head. This isn't strength. It's heartbreak. We stood there for the last time, two people who had found each other in the wrong place at the wrong moment. The kind of connection that felt real but impossible. The kind that changes you even after you walk away. That I turned toward the door, and this time, he didn't try to stop me. But just as I stepped outside, he whispered behind me, "You'll always matter, even if I never say it again." I didn't look back. I couldn't. But as I walked into the cool night, I felt the weight of everything we had shared. Every unspoken word, every stolen moment, every emotion held quietly between us. Some stories don't end with promises or forever. Some end with understanding and a choice to protect the pieces of ourselves that still need healing. And even though I left his house, a part of me knew that what happened between us would never truly fade. It would remain as a lesson, a memory, a quiet echo in the heart, but a chapter that changed everything, without ever being allowed to become more.